Yes, once again, it's that time. Another weekend when myself and a bunch of other people, well, a few thousand really, got together for a Replay Events Play Expo. This is my fourth one of the year, completing a full turn in which I've guested at all of the Replay Expos. And this one was always going to be special, as it was back in Blackpool. Now some of you may know that usually Replay go to Manchester at this time of year. However, the event's usual home there, Event City, decided that hiking their prices up to a ridiculous degree would be a fine idea, so that had to be binned. Not to worry, Play will be back at Manchester in May next year in a new and more central venue. I sense that many a drunken night crawling through the Northern Quarter is in my future. In any case, Manchester was replaced with the year's second Blackpool jaunt, billed as a one-off retro special. Blackpool is the spiritual home of the Play Expo, being where the event started and all that, and it has a feel that the others perhaps don't. It's more intimate in many ways, something about it always feels more relaxed. And this in spite of its infamous venue, the Nork Olympia or the Norbreck Castle Hotel, or HMP Castle Norbreck if you're feeling uncharitable. Once home to many a punk gig and wrestling event, it is well beyond faded glory. Its Wolseley off-white of cream of chicken soup, tar pods hanging like stalactites on the ceiling of the lounge, a pond lying pea green accumulating at least a decade's worth of rubbish by this point. It's destitute, and will always be destitute until time is finally called on it and the owner puts something else on the land. And yet, there is an undeniable charm to it all, a different feeling to the other events on the calendar. This retro hotel could be the perfect setting for a retro event perhaps? Right on the promenade, with trams ready and waiting to take you straight to the more action-packed North Pier and the like? It is just so simple. The drink prices are retro too. It's £2.50 for a pint of Tetley's here, which is certainly welcome considering that it was almost double that in London for a can of cider. Don't want to eat on what the Norbreck somehow is able to class as food? There's a fantastic chippy round the back where you can buy delicacies such as battered haggis, battered burgers, battered black pudding, spam fritters and cheesy chips. Oh, and battered fish obviously. A glorious celebration of all things beige and wonderful. For the Blackpool loyal, the Norbreck is our venue. There is a plush new setup opening in the Winter Gardens soon. The expo could move there, but then there'd be a lot of annoyed people if they did. That's the feeling from the boss man and, in many ways, the feeling that I caught on the floor, that this is our dump. Now I could easily spend this whole video talking about the Norbreck itself, for it is such an interesting place, certainly warranting far more words than the Into Brayhead in Glasgow or Printworks in Canada Water. But there was, of course, an event here. And as you would expect from the billing, retro was very much the order of the day. VR was present, but in a corner far away. Indie games were there too, with the stipulation that they had to have a retro theme about them, and the main floor was just packed full of awesomeness. Lots of arcades, consoles, computers, pinball, what you would expect of course. There were some definite highlights. The wonderful Kwan from Asobitech delved into his frankly amazing collection of machines and brought along a table's worth of serious rarities. This was where I spent a lot of my time when I was on the floor because honestly, you don't see any of these machines every day and some of them are just beautiful. Gary Pinkett's Sharpex 68000, as has been seen on Retro Man Cave streams, was there complete with this awesome keyboard. If you played Cotton on it, for example, the LEDs on the keyboard actually lit up in time with the music. There was the Sharp SZ1 Super Famicom TV, an FM Towns Marty, a PCFX, a Pippin, a 64DD, a Pioneer Laser Active. So many gorgeous machines. The Wonder Mega was my personal highlight on the table though. It was the first time I'd seen one of those in the flesh, and needless to say I really want one, because it's an absolute beauty of a console. But even then, nothing on that table was the top highlight. That was another one of Kwan's offerings which could be found on the special Dreamcast table presided over by Tom of the Dreamcast Junkyard. Over there you could play on the fabled CX1 Divers 2000. It took all of one look to fall in love. The angular shape of the back, the lights on the side, the disc tray on the top, the rounded front and Katia-like antennae, not to mention the wonderful picture it produces. It's glorious. It's the ultimate in Y2K aesthetic, and you know how much I love that. It was easily the best thing I saw at the expo. Now, with my little knowledge of the price of CRTs, I offered Quan 10 quid for it. He didn't accept. Probably because if you see one of these on eBay, they're likely to go for around about £5,000. And make sure you get the remote with it too. If you don't have the remote, there is no way at all to access the TV's Dreamcast functionality. Game-wise and arcade-wise, plenty of favourites made an appearance. Computers were well represented, more so than they'd been in the past couple of expos, with everything from multiple Spectrums, Amstrads, MSXs and Commodores to be getting along with, not to mention more modern machines for folks to LAN on. Arcade and pinball is the main event for most people there. Both were thoroughly packed through most of the weekend, with some cabs being especially popular. If you wanted a spot of any light gun game, any racing game, DDR, Star Wars and what have you, then you would definitely have to queue up. Even with the time of year, the retro focus and the competition from MCM Comic Con, which did affect the amount of cosplay negatively, if you're into that, this was still an undoubtedly successful event, with the Saturday in particular being packed to the rafters. Sundays naturally are always a bit more quiet. Of course, there was also the people and the panels. I was on 2 panels once again. The YouTube panel with DJ Slope, Retro Man Cave, and, all the way from America, Adam Korolik, jolly nice bloke he is too. And on Saturday I was in the mania of the Digitiser panel with Biffo, Gannon, Slope and Octavius. Me and Slope had the job of replacing Larry Bundy and Gameplay Jenny and, well, what can I say? Sausages were molested. Weird things were done with a magic hand. Gannon and Biffo had about 10,000 lovers' tiffs while we wondered just where they'd come from, and some balls were thrown from one side of the audience to the other. Somewhere in the midst of all this, some games discussion was had, and we also tried to recreate some video game sound effects, much to the hilarity of everyone.
Keep going. What people pay for.
Adam, are you actually happy you've flown all the way from America?
Yeah. We'll be taking these memories back to Chicago.
A fun as hell time was had by all. The Digitiser crew are great, filled with lovely people on both the fan and the crew side. Shoutouts to Steve Horsenberger, genius of the teletext art, Sam, Gogs, Nikki and Bunty, PSB, all the other fans, and, of course, Gannon, Biffo and Sanya. My arrival on the panel was short notice, but you know what? I think we killed it. Sunday afternoon's YouTube panel was altogether more sedate. Placed at the time when things are very much winding down, the audience was smaller than Digi but very much attentive, and with plenty of crossover. It was a pleasure to meet and do a panel with Adam Korolik, the doyen of the Dreamcast, a convention machine, and a thoroughly nice chap. Nice to meet as well the hilarious James, aka the Gaming Muso, and his wife as well, along with other stalwarts of Blackpool like Mark Vergier and company flying in from the Netherlands. As ever, Dan and Ravi of the Retro Hour did an awesome job hosting the panels, and thanks to Stephen from Retro Unlim for filming all of them too. Speaking of Retro Unlim, it was a pleasure to, albeit briefly, meet the almighty Harry Yak, back on the road and stronger than ever. As ever, the community is what makes these events, hanging around with folks who are basically old friends at this point, such as Slope, Neil and Octi, Stephen, Novabug, Quan, Dan and Ravi, On a Retro Tip, Andrew Backoffice, Andrew Dalton, Gary Pinkett and Paul Drury, while also meeting plenty of newer people who I either hadn't met before or only talked to in short passing, guys like Adam, James, Stan PC Gaming, and the lovely Sethlin from our Patreon and Discord. There's so many awesome people at these events, I can't possibly hope to remember absolutely everyone, but suffice to say that you are all wonderful. And of course, you have the legends. It still causes butterflies in the stomach when Jeff Minter's casually walking about. It's always good to bump into the likes of Jim Bagley, and it was an absolute privilege to, after a long time talking online, meet the almighty David Pleasance. I also had a great chat with Mark Helliwell, aka Judge Drock, a great from the Amiga demo scene. Another group of people who I can't not mention though is the crew. As I've said, this is the 4th Play Expo I've done this year, and the crew are without exception absolutely brilliant, working their asses off through the event, from Andy and Elliot all the way on down, not to mention folks like the wonderful James and the rest of the Retro Games Party crew, and the pinball folk who keep the machines well oiled throughout the weekend. It was great for everyone to let their hair down during the customary Saturday night after party, play some games, eat some pizza, have a dance while DJ Slope was actually being a DJ and banning one out on the decks. A great time. They're all great and should be proud of another awesome year. Finally, as is customary, there's the pickups. I snared myself a bunch of Mega Drive games, as is often the case. I got Chakan because, even if it's not the best game, it is a legendary concept and a beautiful cover, plus I used to have it before. A spot of Arnold Palmer Tournament Golf because, if nothing else, it's got lovely music. Sketching, because it was a very fair price and, geez, cringy early 90s vibe aside, it's road rash on roller skates and fuss brilliant. And lastly Batman, which I never had previously, so nice to own that at last. Also, David Pleasance gave me a copy of both the book and Blu-ray of Commodore The Inside Story, his brand new tell-all of the company and the Amiga's history. I can't wait to have a proper look at that. One last thing, I did get a copy of this, Let's Make a Soccer Team for the PS2. It seems to be some terrible management game with a really cheesy title, and it's got the Sega name on it. Perhaps something for another football video in the future? Seems like it's terrible, but hey, it did cost the grand price of absolutely nothing, so, you know, I'm alright with that. And well, that's about it. Thanks once again to everyone who I met, and to the Play Expo folk for another brilliant event. I can't wait to do all this again in Manchester next year. And of course, thank you all for watching. If ever the Play Expo folk are in your area, don't hesitate to get yourself down there and have a bloody good time. Bye for now. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do follow me on social media, like the video, and also support me on Patreon, particularly if you want me to do more incredibly long and thorough documentaries like the Sensible Software one. Thank you so much for the brilliant reaction for that. Also, the community would like to thank the following: Alexander Jazeri, Andrew Dalton, Andy Capt, Daniel Briggs, Daniel Dave Taylor, David Rose, Dustin Cooper, Gary Pinkett, Geordie Alex, James Loveridge, Jason Goy, Jason Stevens, Jace Alexander, Kiwi Holloway, Lee Norris, Mark Greaves, Martin Pataki, Nicholas Tristan, Peter Jack, Phil Taprog, Potter Margel, Quan DX, Rachel Maxwell, Ren Bimon, Seth Robinson, Simon Gulliver, Yerka Operator, and Zach Roach. Thank you all, and all the rest of the community. Goodbye.